Okay, hopefully 5th time lucky, or should we say take 5. We're going to show you how to use SuperCIC and IGR, in-game reset, on the Super Nintendo. I've got 2 Super Nintendos here, a PAL and an NTSC Junior. This is the actual Junior, not the Famicom Mini, as the Japanese ones are called. I didn't want that one for a specific reason. So let's go. Now, this is the one I'm going to be showing you, the PAL one. So we'll turn it on. Green light indicates that it's UK. And I'm going to have to do a second take on this. Oh no, we're not. I need to put the AV cable in. There we are. Okay, so that's running in PAL mode, PAL 50 Hz. You've got the banding at the top and the bottom. So there we go. It's an absolute nightmare trying to get this all to go. This TV's, it's either the SCART sockets aren't working, or my SCARTs ain't working at the moment. I'm running it off AV. That's all I've got at the moment, unfortunately, that I can use to run this. You know, but at least it's running now. So I've already unfortunately pressed on the reset. Now this is something that Ikari did himself, and it is a known feature of these consoles of the CIC. Is if you press your region select from the reset button, then that is all it will be. It will only be off the reset button. Which I'm on red there. Another thing as well is always start your console in the region that your console is. I'll give you an example. I'm just going to switch the region. I'm going to switch it to NTSC with the PAL console, PAL game. Nothing's going to happen. There is actually a reason why. Usually it should come on, but there is a very, very specific reason why that's happening. But let me just go back to PAL mode, and there you go, it comes back on. But there is a way around this. But let me tell you why this happens first. The reason why this happens is because you've got your power adapter. This is an original Nintendo power adapter, as you can see. It outputs 1.3 amps. 10 volts, 1.3 amps. Now, let's not worry about the 10 volts at the moment. It's the ampage we're talking about. 1.3 amps. SuperCIC, it has... if you go a step backwards and look at before SuperCIC was available, you had your little switches that used to dip up and down. You had 2 sets of switches. You could put them on the side anywhere you wanted. If you went up one, you got PAL, down one, I think it was 50 Hz, up one, it was down one NTSC, and down one or up one or something like that, and you got your 60 Hz, and you could flick them around and you could do all you change your Hz. Now basically all you were basically doing was sending or not sending a 5 volt to a specific pin on the chip. So that's exactly what it is. I think PAL 50 Hz is ground and ground. NTSC 50 Hz is obviously 5 volts and ground, but nobody uses NTSC and 50 Hz. PAL and 60 Hz is ground and 5 volts, and then NTSC 60 Hz is 5 volts and 5 volts. So when you've got that much 5 volts going in the console, plus coming into your cart, you've got a lot of power being drawn, and that power that is being drawn, 1.3 amps, is just not enough for it. It can handle in the green PAL mode, because PAL 50 Hz, that's ground and ground, so you've not got them on, basically. You're not sending the power to those chips, so you're only sending power into the console and to the cart, so it starts up straight away. And that is one of the reasons, you know what I mean? So if you start it up in PAL mode, you know, I mean, using the official block. The other option is to get a better block, but a power block, but then 10 volts AC at around about 3 amps is a good idea. Very, very, very hard to find. So, you know, I mean, this would be the other option, is to change your hertz, not via the button, but via your joypad using the IGR, and that's why I've got IGR installed in this one. One other thing that Ikari did do on this, so I'm going to have to reset the console in a second before I can do it, is if you start pressing the reset button to change your regions, the joypad won't do it. Your IGR will stop. And if you use your IGR on your control panel, on your joypad, then you won't be able to do the IGR on your reset button. It's only one or the other. You can't have them both. So because I've already done it on there, let's turn the console off for a second. I'm just going to remove the power. Just drain it. There we go. You see, we drained it. Plug the power back in, and then we're going to turn it on. There we go. So it's come back on. I'm not touching the reset button at all. And we're going to do the IGR. Now, the IGR is done like this. LR, select, Y is PAL, A is NTSC, B is auto switching. Auto switching basically is you let the console decide what it wants to do. Whether it wants to go to 50 Hz PAL, 60 Hz NTSC, or whatever combination it wants to do. It gives you, I think it's 9 seconds. After 9 seconds, it thinks about it for 9 seconds, and then it does what it needs to do. X is cold reboot. So if you do LR, select X, that's a cold reboot. That's a deep reboot. If you do LR, select and start, that's a warm reboot. It's just a quick reboot. It's what we call the warm reboot. So that's what it is. So we're on green. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. And I might not be able to do it with one hand, but let's see. Okay, alright. Select and... Oh, I'm not even pressing select. I'm trying to do this, and I want to show you as well. Like my hands are in the way. Actually, I have an idea. Bear with me. Didn't realise how hard this was to do. There we go. Just about managed it. And if you have a look, we're in 60 Hz NTSC mode, red. And if you have a look at the screen, 60 Hz mode, full screen. And the game's fine. So starting in 60 Hz NTSC, the game won't load. But if you start in 50 Hz PAL and then do it using your your joypad, it'll do it just fine, and you can flick through them as many times as you like. I'm just going to put the camera down a second. Actually, got an idea. Wrong way. Yeah, put the camera about there. Find something to sort of prop it up with. And I might just be able to do it. Oh, it's not working. Just faffing around here, aren't I? Trying to show this off as best I can. Oh yes, got it. Okay, so what I will do is, because we can't see the screen, put the volume up a bit. That's Super Mario World. There we go. And it flicks just fine using the IGR on the joypad. Now one thing is, oh, yeah, I mean, pressing it on there, it's not doing nothing. It's not changing it. It's not changing it. That's because I've already started the IGR. In fact, what it has done is it's reset the game instead of changing the IGR. But now that I reset it, see, it still won't do it because I've done a warm reboot. I have to do the full switch off, switch on. No, it's not gone into warm reboot. It's actually gone into auto switching mode. So it's done a warm reboot. We want to do a full reboot. Still, yeah, because that's the thing as well. It will start, any game will start on the auto switching because it assumes your last position, which was PAL, which I did have. If my last position was NTSC and it then went into the auto switching, the game wouldn't boot because it assumes your last setting. Okay, green. There we go. Now if we press that. There you go, see, it's scrolling through the colours. Keep it, yeah, so it's scrolling through the colours. But, if I was to... Yeah, so stay on orange, because it assumes your last setting for 9 seconds. But, going on your NTSC, there you go, screen's gone blank, it just can't handle it for some reason. But on green, it comes back and then you can do your IGR. The only problem is it won't do it now because I've already used the push button. Okay, so it's fairly simple. Next thing I want to show you is a Famicom game. Unfortunately, I don't have an adapter, otherwise I'd have shown you an NTSC game. But I don't have an adapter. But we can do a Famicom game. Now, for some reason, this particular game, I've noticed it does take a few seconds to load for some reason. And there we go. See, it's really odd. I think it's because it's trying to think to itself, what do I do? How do I load myself up? But yeah, that's a Famicom game there. Go this way on it. Now, you shouldn't really need to worry too much in regards to NTSC USA, because Famicom and NTSC USA are both Famicom and USA are both NTSC 60 Hz. So I've got the Famicom game running. It means that the USA will run just fine as well. Obviously, you need an adapter, and I don't like cutting up the consoles. It's not something I like doing. Let me see if I can switch over on this with the remote. I don't know if I'm able to, because I've pressed the buttons a few times. But let's see. Oh yes, I can. Yep, it's gone into NTSC mode. Now it's in full screen. There you go. You got the full screen mode right there. Okay, it's thoroughbred. Don't ask me why I've got it. I've just got it. It's not a bad game, but it's not too bad, I guess. But there you go. That's that. Next thing I'll just quickly show you as well is turn this off, pop the game out, and we shall quickly just go over to my Junior. Hopefully it will work. It's been playing up. It's been playing up today. Usually works normally fine, but it's been giving me a bit of trouble. Oh wow! First go. It booted up on the first go. That's brilliant. Awesome. Now this is running in NTSC mode. Now, one thing I will say is the reason why I know about this amp draw situation is because of this. I had the same problem, and that's why I learnt on the forums about it. 9 volts 3 amp power adapter, and that's why I'm able to start off scratch straight on NTSC mode. You've got all your same colours there. You've got your green mode, and now you've got your bands. Now, as you can see here, going into power mode, because this is an NTSC console, going into power mode will give me black and white. The reason why it's giving me black and white is because of the AV leads. This screen can't handle NTSC for some reason. Although on my power machine it's fine, which is odd. I really have found that I've not been able to understand that. My power one, no matter what, I even loaded up a Famicom game, and that was in colour. So I just don't understand why on my on this one it does that. But yeah, let me just flick it back, and there we go. We've got colour again. Oh, that's on auto. There we go. Now we've got colour, and that's a PAL game at full screen. It's odd, but there we go. So that's that one. Now this particular one was much harder to mod. It was harder, but then it was easy as well. And the reason why it was easy is because of a very nice gentleman, Badad84 from the Assembler forums. He made a small PCB. He designed it himself, and I bought one of his prototype boards, and I was able to use that prototype board, which was pre-made. It just soldered on the components. In fact, he was very kind. He gave me his absolute prototype board. In other words, he pre-soldered it, tested it, it was all done, and he sold it to me, and he gave me that particular one, and it's pretty good. It was a pretty fair price as well. He charged everyone the same price, and he also charged me the same price, and I got mine all pre-soldered, which was very kind of him for doing. I wasn't too fussed. Oh yeah, he soldered it and it's already redone and blah 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 and all the rest of it. For me, it was just less hassle, less to solder, so I was very happy about that. But yeah, the other mod I did do is, you're probably looking, why have I got this? But that's because NTSC uses 110 volts, so we need to have another power adapter. Can't use one of these and change the wire on it because that's AC. This needs DC. That uses AC because it has a rectifier circuit. That does not have the rectifier circuit, so it uses DC. So this is what I did. I'm just going to have to turn it around, and we'll show you. That's what I did. I modified the jack connector. I'm going to have to turn it off, obviously, to show you, but there it is. Modified the jack connector on there. I took out the old one. I know some people, what they tend to do is they make a hole right there, and they have both of them. So they have the original one left as it is, and then they have a new one just there. I was never going to use the original one. There's no hope. I'm ever going to use it. So I just took it out and used the hole that was already there to put this one in. And I'm pretty pleased with it. There is one more thing I wanted to mention about these consoles. But before I do that, a quick shout out to Russ. Russ J something on his YouTube channel. I do apologise, Russ. I completely forgot your username on YouTube. But he does a lot of Sega stuff. He's got a few videos of Sega modding and LCD. So do check him out. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention about these, I'm unable to open them. It would take me a few minutes to open them if I was to open them. But I'll try and explain the best I can. But these consoles are notorious for one thing, and that is their fuse. The fuses blow like, hotcakes. I tell you, I was spending, £4 a fuse, and I was blowing them like balloons pop. It's like they were blowing. Then I remembered that once when I was doing some Arduino modding, Raspberry Pi Arduino modding, and I know that on their circuits I used poly fuses for my 5-volt line. You know, I mean, I think there were only 500 milliamp ones that I used for them because it was only 5 volts. But basically what polyfuses are little tiny little fuses that are resettable. That's what a polyfuse is. So if it blows, basically, you know, if you look at my fingers, a fuse, let's say that's the fuse. When you have a problem, the fuse will blow, and so the fuse will come apart and it'll blow. Now what happens with a polyfuse is, as long as there's still power going into that polyfuse after it has blown, it will stay open. So it will stay like that, an open circuit. But the moment you remove the power, it will reset and it comes back. And then you don't actually have to physically change the fuse, it will just reset itself. If it ever blows again, it'll just open, remove the power, it'll come back on again. The fuse will reset. Obviously there's one thing you need to look at is, why are you blowing the fuses? If you're continuously blowing this polyfuse, even a polyfuse, if it continuously seems like it's blowing, the way you tell if it's blowing is if you get a light there and that light just flicks off, you've blown a fuse. And if you notice that, that means you're blowing. So you need to investigate why you're blowing this fuse. And there's no point keep on changing fuses or you know, I mean, putting in a polyfuse that continuously blows. There must be something else. So you need to do that. The reason why I blew a lot of fuses is because during the modding process, there's one very important thing you're supposed to do. Oh, you missed it there. Let me just see if I can do it on it. Yeah. Let me put power back in and I'll show you. I did show it in the beginning of the video. But yeah, alright, turn it off. Remove power. And you see that light that just flicked on and off? When I turn it on, that's draining the capacitors, draining the internals. If you don't drain it and you touch the insides and whatnot, you will blow the fuses. First thing that'll go is the fuse will blow. And that's what I was doing. Sometimes I would forget. Or if I touched the cage, or if shorting while I was soldering or something, you know, the fuse would go boom, and the fuse blows. So that was the reason why I was blowing them, not because there was an internal fault in these. But the polyfuse was just so much more easier while I was modding them, because I knew the polyfuse just resets itself while I'm doing these mod work. Sorry. And the other thing I did do, I didn't need to do it, but on this particular one, I changed the regulator on there. I just thought I'd do it anyway. Polyfuse in there, regulator changed in there, all new. I've never had to change the polyfuse on there. Polyfuses you don't need to change. Yes, there does come a time in a polyfuse's life when it does die completely and it's unable to reset itself. But while it's in its working life, it's pretty good. You don't have to mess with it. You don't have to keep changing fuses over. This has a polyfuse in it. This has a polyfuse in it. This one was a little harder to do because it's right at the back there. Cart connector is, you know, I mean, covering it, and you've got other things covering it. It's a tiny little surface mount right there. That was really, you know, tricky. I wouldn't say hard, but it was tricky. But I managed to do it. Put a surface mount in there. I'm just awaiting for a delivery of some 2.5 amp ones, so I can do my Sega CD because I've blown that one today. Funnily enough. But yeah, that's basically it. Just thing to remember really is start off in your green region on this one, unless you've got a more powerful power supply, and then change your region not via the button but via your in-game reset. If you do forget what the in-game reset functions are, Ikari, I think it's Ikari01, his website, if you just type in SuperCIC and you Google, it'll bring up his website and you can have a look at the instructions, the FAQs on how to use SuperCIC IGR. There's an FAQ on there, tells you all about it and everything, and how to use it. But yeah, basically that is it. It's my consoles, and you know, got a selection of games. So let's just take a walk round and have a look at some of the other selections I've got. Killer Instinct there. I've got Mario RPG original. No modifications done to this one. I know some people modify it to work on a PAL system. I don't need to do that because I've got the SuperCIC, so it's unmodified there. Got Breeder, got the Mario World, SD2 SNES. At the moment I've got an 8 gig card in there. Yeah, 8 gig in there. But I've got a couple of 32 gigs. I think that is the max it can take, 32. I've got a couple of 32s, and I'm going to switch it over for a 32 at some point. Yeah, let's just quickly take a walk and just quickly show you some of my other ones I've got here. I've got a couple of boxed ones here. I've got Street Fighter box. This is NTSC Street Fighter. I've got NBA Jam, got Madden in a box. Now this one's my special one. This is International Sensible Soccer World Champions Edition. Very, very rare, very hard to get, and I've got it all nicely boxed in absolutely mint condition. It is in very, very nice condition in there. In its little baggie, as you can see, a lovely clean manual there. You know, manual's in pretty good condition. I'd say 9 out of 10 at least. Well, you can see straight away there. You know, limited edition features World Cup teams. You know, this one's a really nice one. I won't be getting rid of that because I've seen them on eBay and how much they sell for, and that's cart only. Got a couple of Famicom games, but they're really just for doing little bits and bobs with, doing some changes. I bought these as donor carts. I was going to unscrew them, and I was going to put them into my NTSC game so I can pop them into my the Super NES that I had. But now I've got the USA one, I don't need to worry. Got a Japanese version of Star Wars, Super Star Wars. Got Japanese version of Mother 2, which is Earthbound, and not Earth. Sorry, that's the NES version. Got another copy of Killer Instinct. Stunt Race FX at the moment is actually empty. The reason why it's empty is because it's right here. It's had its ribbon cable wired to it. I still need to put the chip on. I've just been a bit lazy to finish it off, but that's going to be a Star Fox 2 cart eventually. So we're still working on that one. What else have I got? Got a couple of just cheapy games: Super Tennis, FIFA, got Mario Kart, got All Stars on World, Art of Fighting, Twinbee. Don't know what that game is. What's this one? Exhaust something, is it? I don't know. Street Racer. And I did make this. It's really temperamental. I made it myself using an import game cart. I removed the back, and as you can see, I removed the cart connector that was on the back. Took out the diodes. There's a couple of diodes